¿Cómo están? Una nueva charla, una nueva entrevista en Exploración Espacial News, porque estamos a un mes, menos de un mes para el lanzamiento de la misión Polaris Dawn, una misión que seguramente va a quedar en los libros de historia. Esta misión, una nueva misión Free Flyer de SpaceX. Esto significa que de vuelo libre, ¿no? Que no tiene un destino en particular como si fuera la estación espacial, sino que va a estar 5 días en órbita alrededor de la Tierra, pero que tiene muchos componentes que seguramente van a hacer que queden en los libros de historia. Eh, la misión tiene 4 tripulantes, de los cuales 2 de ellos van a abrir la escotilla y van a salir a hacer una caminata espacial. La primera vez que se hace una caminata espacial privada en la historia. El comandante Jarek Isaacman y Sarah Gillis van a estar utilizando, bueno, los 4 tripulantes van a estar utilizando estos nuevos trajes espaciales de SpaceX y van a salir de la cápsula, algo realmente increíble. Pero además la misión tiene muchos objetivos y tuve la chance de poder hablar con Ana Menon, integrante de la misión, especialista de misión y la oficial médico de la misión, y hablamos como media hora. Desde yo quería saber sobre su pasión por el espacio, está a punto de cumplir su sueño de toda la vida, su pasión por el espacio, sus años por la NASA, cómo ha ayudado a desarrollar muchos de los procesos que hoy se siguen a rajatabla si uno quiere meterse en una Crew Dragon y volar al espacio. Bueno, Ana ha ayudado a desarrollar muchos de esos procesos. Detalles de la caminata espacial, qué se puede, qué no se puede hacer. ¿Pueden alejarse los astronautas un poquito de la cápsula? Sí, no. Y además quédense hasta el final porque hay preguntas de ustedes. Seleccioné 2 preguntas de ustedes que me mandaron que Ana contestó. Así que yo la pasé, disfruté media hora con ellas, así que espero que ustedes la disfruten tanto como yo. Ana Menon, I cannot believe. How are you? Nice to meet you.
So wonderful to meet you too. Thanks for having me.
You know, I just thought before. I mean, it's a very special. It's something very special when you are going to start an interview or a chat with someone that is about to fulfill a lifetime dream.
I pinch myself to that
Can you
that's
believe it?
about to happen. Yeah, it's very very hard to believe.
How are you? First of all, how are you feeling now? How are the rest of your crewmates? Are you guys ready? We are 1 month away, approx, from the launch, and can you say, okay, we are done, we just relax, or it's never enough? You're always like, okay, let's do it one more time, one more time. How are you guys? Are you still fine tuning the mission?
I think there's a lot of emotions. I think we are all really excited. I think we are really focused. Um, we're definitely in a really focused mode at this point. We are training and getting together really regularly. We really just finished our final big, what we would call a long simulation, where we do basically we simulate long phases of our mission and work through it together with our ground team. So we just completed one of our final simulations this past week. And so we're at this point, we are really just in refining mode and making sure we have all of our I's dotted, T's crossed, and are fully, have every little nitty gritty detail taken care of before we get on that rocket.
Wow. Are you guys in Hawthorne, in California, or somewhere else?
When we train, we're in Hawthorne, California. We all live in 4 different places around the country. And so the few days that we are not together for mission preparations, we go back to our homes and see our families, but then we get back together again for training in LA whenever it's needed.
Anna, tell us about your role in this mission. I know you're the mission specialist, medical offer. Tell us a little bit about what is it that you want to accomplish during these 5 days in orbit.
Absolutely. So I am the medical officer for our crew based on my background in biomedical engineering, as well as years at NASA working in that field. Then I am also with Sarah, one of the 2 mission specialists on the mission. And in that role, I will help our crew execute on our flight objectives, leaning on my background in crew and ground operations at SpaceX. And so, we have a lot of ambitious objectives for this flight. We are flying to the highest altitude that any human has flown since the Apollo era. We are performing the first ever commercial spacewalk. We will perform a test of Starlink laser communication systems from a human spacecraft for the first time ever. And then we will perform over approximately 40 science and research experiments in our 5 days on orbit. And so we will have really action-packed days. And so we will be really executing on every one of those ambitious objectives during our time on orbit, and I will be helping my crew however necessary to execute on all of that.
So every minute of the mission is like measured, no time to spare at all.
Pretty much, yep. We really recognize that this is this is a really special opportunity. We want to make sure that every minute counts, and we're able to use every minute to gather data and gather information to, expand human spaceflight technologies and make future.
Anna, you studied math, and then you're a biomedical engineer. You've done your career with your mind set to someday reach to orbit or reach to space, or I said, okay, I'm going to have a career in space, or this was your dream, always was your objective to reach to orbit?
I fell in love with space when I was in 4th grade, and I went on a field trip, and I got to experience a day in the life of an astronaut and a mission control flight controller. And that experience just lit a fire in me to be a part of this industry. I dreamed at that point. I loved the teamwork involved in spaceflight. I loved the technical problems that people had to solve together. And I dreamed I've dreamed of flying to space, but I also recognized over the years that the odds of getting to fly to space were low, and I would feel thrilled and grateful to get to contribute to this industry in any way, shape, or form. And so as I finished my studies in math and biomedical engineering later in grad school and landed a job at NASA, I was just honestly so thrilled to get to contribute, to get to do something that I love, be a part of this industry, use this education that was really interesting to me, but apply it to the space field. I have been thrilled every step of the way of my career to just get to be a part of this.
You've been with NASA 7 years, SpaceX later. You developed many of the processes, right, on SpaceX for flying human spacecraft to orbit. What's the main difference in training for this mission that all the missions before, like going like, okay, a crew 5, crew 6, or a regular mission to the ISS with this one that is so different?
We would call this a developmental mission. So when we are developing new technologies and getting ready to test them in flight for the first time, that drives a lot of new hardware, software, operations, et cetera, development. And so the whole, the breadth of the Dragon program and other programs within SpaceX work together to really put to the test these new technologies that they're developing in order to actually fly this on this flight. And so it's a really detailed process to get to flight for one of these developmental type missions. SpaceX has done this type of mission before, in particular with what we called our Demo 2 mission. That was when we flew Bob and Doug, NASA astronauts, on SpaceX's first human spaceflight mission. And the lead up to that launch was very similar. It had a lot of similarities to what I would say is my experience of the lead up to this launch. There's a lot of learning that's constantly happening. There's a lot of iteration. Teams are really working together across the company to drive to the finish line and make this new technology as ready as humanly possible to fly these people to space. And so it's really it was neat to get to be a part of that lead up to the Demo 2 flight, and then it's been really fantastic to get to watch the minds at SpaceX prepare for this new developmental mission of Polaris Dawn.
Does it feel weird to be on the other side now, sitting one of the seats of Crew Dragon?
I just feel incredibly grateful. I have loved being a part of the SpaceX team for all of these years and getting to contribute to their mission in any way possible. And so I've loved getting to be in mission control and work with the different engineers across SpaceX. And so, I really just feel grateful to get to be in this seat. And my goal is to learn as much as I can so that I can bring it back and use that to
I saw tons of photos of you guys training. It was a very hard training. If you had to mention what was your most challenging part of the training, which one was?
There have been, I have loved every single bit of training.
I have some photos here.
That's a good photo. There's a lot of wonderful memories there. Training has been fantastic. It is really diverse. It really spans the gamut of all sorts of different pieces of the puzzle that are required to prepare us for flight. I think, one experience that we had in training that stands out to me is it was more of the mental preparation side of spaceflight training. And so one activity we did was we went to the U.S. Air Force Academy and we skydived with their cadet team there. And we went through their program that they use to prepare cadets to skydive for the first time. And it's the only program in the world where you skydive your very first jump completely solo. And so it's a really rigorous training program that occurs really just 2 days. You get drilled in nominal contingency emergency procedures to ready your mind for anything that could happen once you get out of the airplane. And you're put to the test before you're allowed to go up in the airplane. Make sure you have it all committed to memory and you execute correctly in any sort of circumstance. And then you go up in that plane and you are released. You jump out of the plane, free fall for about 10 seconds, perform a series of motions, get that parachute above your head, navigate that back down, and land safely in the drop zone. And I would say that the emotional arc in that experience was really profound for me. As you're sitting in the airplane going higher and higher and knowing that you're about to have to stand in that door and let go, the normal feelings of fear and butterflies came in. And so, it was such an interesting experience to feel fear. And then you get the door, you let go, and you go into focus mode. All of your training goes into practice immediately. And there's no fear anymore. You're just executing and you're thinking and focusing on putting into practice exactly what you've trained to do. And then when you land, the elation and joy that you feel upon going through that emotional arc was just really beautiful. And I think to me, what I found so interesting about it was that it absolutely readies your brain to perform in high stress, high consequence scenarios like ones that we could encounter in spaceflight, such as our spacewalk. But it also, I think, is a tool that you can use throughout your life. That sort of mental ability to feel fear, move past it, execute with extreme focus is a really valuable skill in general in life, I think. And so I was really grateful for the experience with the Air Force Academy, and I think learned a lot of hands-on knowledge there.
Was it your first time skydiving?
It actually was not. I had done a tandem skydive once before, about 15 years prior.
When we received the CFT crew here at Kennedy Space Center, Butch Wilmore, he got off of the T-38 and he was commenting. I just wanted to show you here. Says that flying on the T-38, these machines are the only way we can experience life-death situations on Earth. So I can imagine that Jared is mostly on the same line. That's why you are like flying jets, Alpha jets or MiG all the time, being him an instructor.
Absolutely. It's a great analog environment for that crew resource management. When you have to work together as a team, you have to use clear, concise communications protocols. You have to respond to both nominal and potentially contingency moments, and really work together as a team. So I think NASA really has a great tool there in the T-38s that they use, and we've been really happy and grateful to be able to use that similar sort of aviation environment to train ourselves.
What about because I saw the photos, you have an amazing array of photography, well, thanks to our mutual friend, John Krause.
Yes.
But what about this? You guys done an outreach incredibly everywhere. How important is this? Because you don't see this in many missions. So I guess the role of educating on and evangelizing about space is key.
I think it's really important. And I think that, as much as we look at this mission as really a test bed for technologies that will help move human spaceflight forward and get SpaceX closer to its term objectives, we also see this mission as something that is addressing the here and now on Earth. And so one of the ways we do that is by outreach. We love to engage with the youth and people across the world and help share spaceflight, share human spaceflight with around us and society here on Earth. Another way that we engage with the here and now is we one of our tenets is to raise funds and awareness for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
Right.
So I think that's a really important part of this mission for us too. And so I think it's just really special to be able to see this mission as something that is helping move our collective future forward, but also addressing the problems in life here on Earth today.
So it's like you are reinforcing or doing like a continuation or inspiration for efforts to help to get funds, right, for St. Jude.
Absolutely.
Okay, you have let's talk about a little bit about this. Well, this is I take a look at this and I don't know what to say. This is incredible. And you see this like a kind of a pool railing on top of the capsule, and you're going to dive on the biggest pool of your life. Are you guys, I mean, prepared for this? And I understand that Jared and Sarah are going out, but basically you guys are the four of you are going to be in the same conditions, in EVA conditions, right? You need to depressurize the capsule. Jared and Sarah are out. My question, I'm curious to know, you are going to be inside the capsule with Scott. Do you need to be seated, or can you be floating around inside the capsule?
We have chosen to be seated so as
Okay.
to give the maximum amount of volume available for Jared and Sarah to navigate in and out of the capsule.
Okay. So is there any, because I see this photo and it says, okay, if I'm sitting there and I look up, the hatch is going to be open.
Yes.
Can I go and like a sneak a peek? Or no way.
We will make sure that they get their time to go out, get all the data back for SpaceX on the suits and the operation, and we will support them from the inside.
And I understand that the mission, well, this is a very particular mission. You're going to reach, it's a very eccentric orbit in some phases of the mission. You're reaching 1,400 kilometers, and then the EVA is going to be done at 700 kilometers. Do you have any idea how long it's going to last?
The EVA operation itself is about 2 hours start to finish, and so that includes going from you've donned your suits and you start the depressurization of the capsule, the opening of the hatch, each person going out performing a series of tests, then repressurizing the capsule and getting out.
You were talking on the press conference when the EVA suits were announced, and can you hear me?
Now I can. You froze for a second.
Okay. I was mentioning that during the press conference that you were talking about the mission and the EVA, you mentioned that the life support systems of the suits are going to be inside Crew Dragon, right? Correct. And they're going to be outside through an umbilical. Can they detach a little bit from the capsule? And how much distance can they go away? And they need to be always on the rail?
They can get about to kind of the top of the rail or so, based on the length of the umbilical, but they won't actually detach ever because that umbilical is their life support as well as comms.
But even with the umbilical, can they float outside the capsule with the umbilical? Is it long enough, or is it better to get attached to the rail?
They will be able to get about to their feet around the top of the rail.
Okay.
How far they can go.
Nice. I wonder if this you as you've been playing a key role in developing a lot of processes for in crew operations in SpaceX. Is this mission going to help improve or change processes for future Crew Dragon missions? Like these suits, which they are amazing, they look incredible, and it's really it's fascinating that a private company can develop in such a short period of time an EVA suit. Is this something that SpaceX wants to implement in every crew mission from now on?
To just to speak to your speed comment, I totally agree. 2 years to develop a brand new spacesuit is light speed.
Yeah.
In aerospace terms. So it's really a testament to the brilliant engineers at SpaceX that have been working tirelessly to make sure that every single detail of the suit and the entire spacecraft is ready to support the objectives of this mission. In terms of whether, not every future Dragon mission will fly with an EVA spacesuit necessarily, but there is already a ton of learning that has happened across the board in the development of this mission profile, the suit, but then also just the mission architecture that is being put towards just general Dragon missions. And
Okay.
so I think it's really neat to watch how, there's all of this learning, and some of it even unanticipated learning that is occurring and benefiting all of the future astronauts out there.
Do you think that this it is fair to say that free flyer mission like Inspiration 4 and this one, do you think they are helping you? I have this feeling that they are extending or pushing the boundaries of Crew Dragon. The first one with this kind of glass dome, and then now with an EVA reaching new heights in orbit. I think it's something, it is usual for you in terms of then developing new processes to say, okay, the capsule can do this and that.
So it is certainly, these missions are certainly expanding the capability set of what is nominally performed in Dragon at a minimum. And so,
Right.
Normally we are flying humans or cargo up to the International Space Station at around 400 kilometer circular orbit. And it's a very set mission profile. And so it's really been fascinating to watch SpaceX expand the envelope and see what the Dragon spacecraft can do. But also, this isn't just for the Dragon spacecraft future. A lot of what the learning that's happening here can be applied to SpaceX's future endeavors with Starship and other missions
Right.
that seek to accomplish one day.
I had going back to the experiments and being you the medical officer of the mission, I had the chance to talk to someone from Trish before the AX-1 mission, and he was explaining to me how important these commercial missions are from Inspiration 4 to AX-1 to expand the number of the sample, of the diversity of the sample, to understand human behavior in space. And I guess you, as a biological engineer, would cheer for it as well.
Absolutely. I think the increase in the data set size that we are able to achieve through these additional commercial missions, as well as the just the diversity of that population, and then the access to the data that is being afforded by all of the different research that's being performed on these missions. There is a basically home for this data, that all the data that's being collected on these missions is going towards post, so that researchers around the world with appropriate need can access it and learn more rapidly. And I just think that the implications for that, the benefits of that, are really fantastic and can hopefully help get us closer to our dreams of bringing people to Mars, et cetera, someday faster, and solving the number of problems, especially like human physiological challenges that are out there to get us there.
I cannot even imagine with Starship. That would be incredible.
It will be.
It was incredible. Let's talk about this. Because I know you launched this book like a week ago, I guess, 10 days ago, and You have kids, you've been telling stories to them, but tell us about the history behind it.
Absolutely. So, Kisses from Space is a book that I co-authored with Carrie Vosick, and it was beautifully illustrated by Andy Harkness. And it is the story of a mama dragon as she journeys and trains for and journeys to space, and she shares that journey with her baby dragons back here on Earth. And it is the story of how we can overcome any distance. I had the idea to write this story several years ago when I first learned that I was going to fly on this mission and was seeking ways to connect with my kids while I was on this longest commute ever of my life. My husband and I, for years, as we both traveled to SpaceX and worked there, and we would take our kids to the daycare near there, we would tell them stories, and we would tell them stories. One of the storylines was the storyline of a family of dragons. And so as I realized, and it was this wonderful connection point for our family, as then we were apart for our days. And so then when I realized I was going on this furthest commute ever, it became very clear quickly that this journey called for a story of a family of dragons. And so I decided to write the story, and am really excited to be able to connect with my kids back here on Earth as I read it to them, as well as some of the brave patients from St. Jude Children's Research Hospital from orbit.
Maybe I don't think they can believe that their mom is getting to space finally.
I think they're very excited. They're very excited.
Are they applying already for NASA astronaut? Because I mean, how many kids you have? 2?
We have 2 kids. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so mom is an astronaut. Dad is going to be an astronaut. So, I mean, do they have any choice?
They have lots of choice. I want them to figure out what they love in this world and pursue that. And they are honestly quite clear that space is probably not it. My son dreams right now of being a paleontologist. So really excited to watch as they figure out what they love in this world and try to support them in every way we can.
Nice. Before the interview, I asked the Spanish-speaking community to, okay, I'm going to record an interview with Ana. Send me some questions. So I chose 2 of them. So if you don't mind, here they are. Okay. The first one says, it's Damian Santos. It says, okay, I'm going to translate it, okay?
Sure.
I would like to know, I know that her professional career was always linked to space. She worked with NASA and SpaceX. Have you ever imagined having the opportunity to go from flight controller or biomedical flight controller or mission director to be part of a crew?
You know, I never really, I dreamed of going to space, but I thought that the odds were extremely low, and knew that the odds were extremely low. So I am beyond thrilled, was completely surprised when I found out that I would be on this flight, and am just incredibly grateful to be here, but hope that it is the just beginning of more and more people getting access to space. I think there's a really exciting future ahead for humanity.
Okay, thank you. And question number 2, I think we already discussed this. It says DDT, or Oscar DDT says, okay, in the images presented, you could see this railing on the top of the hatch, but you don't see any railing at all in any other part of the capsule. So I wonder, the question is the EVA going to be like in the Porsche of a Crew Dragon and that's it, or anywhere else?
That general area that you see there will be where the EVA occurs, really, because we are able to get all of the data we need from that environment. We can get the great information on this performance. We can get great information on the operation performance, and get everything we need so that we can do iterations for the future EVAs that SpaceX will tackle.
Nice. So now my last question. But I cannot do I always, every time I do an interview, my last question is if that person is given the chance to go to space, if he or she could take it. But in your case, it's impossible. But wait, I have another question.
Okay.
Okay. Is it true that you really enjoy dancing salsa?
I do. I do. So my second major in college was Spanish, actually. And in college, I studied in Spain for about 6 months. So I lived over in Sevilla. And while I was there, I lived with a Spanish family. And very early, one of the first weeks over there, my mom there, she dropped me off at a salsa class that was entirely taught in Spanish. And so I quickly learned Spanish by doing that class, but also fell in love with salsa dancing and danced my entire time living there. And then since then, I have kept it up, danced on a couple of things in graduate school, and absolutely love the dance. My husband.
Do you still do it?
Our first wedding dance was a salsa dance. So
no way.
Yeah.
Do you still practice that salsa?
I do. It's certainly not with the same frequency as I did when I was younger and didn't have kids. But even just recently, my husband and I went out dancing. So it was something that's very, very much by me.
Anna, thank you so much. I know you're super busy along with your crewmates, and I think it was great to have the chance to connect with the Spanish-speaking community. You know, you won't believe it, but there's a huge amount of space fans across Latin America, from Mexico to Argentina, Spain, Europe, and with an incredible amount of knowledge, even technical knowledge about space programs. So I know that they're going to enjoy and cheer for you and the mission. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. Bye, Anna.
Bye.